from the cosmic legends of the universe.
The Dave Dameshek Show.
The mission to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
Yes, hi and hello, sports fan. It's your old pal Dave Dameshek, after a little while away from you, along with Kevin Hench. There's Eddie Spaghetti in his spot in Florida. Kevin Hench, we have a lot to catch up to. It's been months and months and months, but like bears coming out of hibernation, it is time to talk about the state of the sports world. Let's jump into it. How are you, fella? I should say to the viewer, to the listener, that we're going to try to apply in this new version of the show. We're going to try to apply some sense of a topic bar, like we're going to try to hit certain topics. We'll see how well we do with that. Hench and I tend to approach podcasting sort of the way Chris Nolan does movie making, which is out of order and all over the place, and hopefully it makes sense by the end of things. Kevin Hench, how are you? What's the poop and what's going down in your sports world?
Well, first of all, how often, you say, like, someone goes, how was your summer?
Yeah.
And you go, better than Jed York's. Like, how often do you get to say better than a billionaire's? My summer was better than a billionaire's summer because I didn't get pinched by the Vice Squad trying to get some of that sweet $160 sex. Man, that's good. That's good times. I feel like in the same way that the NFL Players Association will have like seminars on how not to lose all your money, or how to stay out of trouble, or how to stay out of jail, or when not to go road racing with Rashee Rice, like all, it's like, hey, we're going to try to keep it on the straight and narrow. The NFL Owners Association needs to have a retreat where Jerry Jones explains to the guys, like, here's how you get a high-end call girl. Like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing at a trailer park? First of all, when you solicit sex, you're not just soliciting sex for yourself. You're representing the 31 other monsters who own NFL teams. Like, we thought we settled this with Mr. Kraft at Orchids of Asia. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Come on, man. Like, we'll fly an entire village in from Eastern Europe for you. Like, what do you need? You're a fucking billionaire. What are you doing? And by the way, congratulations to Ohio. Ohio apparently has wiped out all crime. There's no crime left in Ohio. There's not a single unsolved murder in Ohio. If we're going to dedicate police resources, we got the task force out.
Do a sting operation on horrid. I mean, what are we doing? This is the top priority going there. Yes, I hate to send them out pious, especially against Johnny Law, but I mean, listen. This is what we're doing in the year of our Lord 2026. I was just about to say it's a crime now to pay for sex, but I guess it's always been a crime to pay for sex. But how about a new world order where it isn't a crime to do that? Why is it a crime? And it's time to turn the page already. Free Jed York. We have enough problems. This is a great point you make about owners. This has been the worst summer ever for not just NFL, but for any ownership in North America, right? I mean, ain't great where we sit, you and me, Kevin Hench. By the way, I should tell the listener and the viewer right now, but the viewer can see. It appears that Kevin Hench is coming to us from his new manse. There's a little echo, and we'll get that right as we press forward with the show, which we will be delivering every week going forward to you. It appears as though you're coming to us from a water closet, from your turlet or something is what it looks like. And it sounds like it too with the echo.
Well, that's why I put the basketball trophy behind me, to make it look less like the toilet. By the way, you've made it when the door frames in your house are so high that you can't reach your pull-up bar. Like I can when I stand, like I lean on the stairs, I can get my pull-up bar into the door frame, but then I can't reach it from the ground. Sorry about the echo.
Congratulations.
Heather thinks some area rugs are going to address that, but that's neither here nor there. the point is, I don't understand. So Jed York is like, if I'm too drunk to drive and a guy goes, hey, no problem, I've got a car, I'll come get you and you pay me $25 to get you home from the bar. Like, this is how the world works. Like, it's like, if you fuck a porn star, you go, hey, but I'd really like you to not mention this before the presidential election. It's like, it's 130 grand. Like, it's like the whole world is just if you're a Navy SEAL and you're kidnapping Maduro tonight, you can bet on it. Like, this idea that there's one law left in America, and it's that Jed York can't get a blowjob. That's the last law we're going to enforce in America. Is fucking insane. And by the way, how is what Jed York is trying to do any different morally from what Bill Belichick's doing? I mean, what do we think? She finds him charming. Like, what the fuck? Like, obviously that's what it is. Like, oh, here's a rich famous guy. Like, I don't. Yeah, it's completely bonkers. That poor. Although it's funny as hell.
Boy, oh boy, now see, you've set my mind ablaze here. Who, since last we spoke around the Super Bowl, when we last properly did this show, although now we've changed the name of it, or I think we need to, but we should kind of, sort of like this entire episode, let's sort of learn as we go here. Do we want to call it now, instead of Shek Show, which previously was -3, do we want to now call it Shek and Hench? I suspect that Kevin Hench, with the high doors and the high bar, probably his ego says, why isn't it Hench and Shek? How say you?
Look, if I ever actually consumed the show, I would have known what it was called.
Right.
But now that you bring it up, of course,
Hench and Shek.
Like, Hench and Shek. I mean, I guess we should go alphabetically. No,
Shek
I don't.
and Hench.
Shek and Hench.
Hench and Shek.
Hench and Shek.
Eddie Spaghetti, say hello quickly, and congratulations to you. Out of the three of us, you had the best sports summer because your Knickerbockers cut down the nets, figuratively, not literally, which is a weird thing that NBA teams don't steal that from college basketball teams. That's a great thing, cutting down the nets. Why the Knickerbockers didn't do it after every round, I don't know, but that's neither here nor there. How are you, Eddie Spaghetti, as you sit in Florida?
I'm great. I mean, just to be doing this again with you guys is unbelievable. I'm very, very excited for the new iteration yet again. And yes, it was I never thought that New York City would be as Knicks heavy as it was, and just seeing it during the summer was just insane. And I never thought that a sports moment would probably overtake like the Giants versus the Pats, like the '07 team. Like, obviously you knew that this Brady, Belichick team was phenomenal. Like, it's going to take a lot for the Giants to win. They're like clear underdogs. But then in the back of your mind, you're like, it's any given Sunday. It's one game. You could do it. The Knicks, like, you just never thought they were going to do it. You never thought they were going to be good enough in the regular season to get a higher seed, to make the playoff lives a little bit easier. You never thought they're going to win multiple series. And they did all of that, and they made it look fairly easy. Like, they had they struggled more with the Hawks in the first round they did with any other team, and to beat down a guy like Wemby, who is going to be one of the faces of the league, and just make him look atrocious in the second half of games, especially the fourth quarter, to make him resort to these dirty tactics. And New York once again just blessed with another superhero talent, and a guy that stays cool, calm, collected, much like a Derek Jeter, much like an Eli Manning, and Jalen Brunson. It was phenomenal to see that, celebrating with my friends
we're putting
at a
Eli
wedding
up there on the mountain. You hear that, Hench? I love that. I think
How is Eli
great.
not on the mountain of New York sports heroes?
He is on New York, but that's
what I'm talking about. I'm talking
I know,
about
but
New York.
it's sort of sad that Eli rises to that level. That's fine. I'm happy for you. I think it's great. Wemby, the loser on that side of things. You're right. And I put him on the list of people who had a worse summer than Dave, a worse sports summer than Dave. I think at the top of the list, Tony Romo, right?
Oh, boy.
Jed York. I started to say 5 minutes ago before I distracted myself by talking. The things ain't great right now for ownership in Lakers land or Clippers land, which is much the same land. Who else do we have to put on this list? Hench's pals, Vrabel and Rossini. Hench is feeling good about himself. I was going to say somebody from the World Cup, Christian Pulisic, or Pulisic or whichever it is. He had a bad summer, it feels like. Gianni Infante had a good summer, but it feels like is starting off a bad Indian summer now, or whatever we call it. By the way, here's some sad news to take Hench down a peg or two, Eddie Spaghetti. I just found out that Gianni, or whatever his name is, Infantino, the most hated guy in soccer, is younger than Kevin Hench is.
I thought he was on death's door. No way. Bad news for me.
He looks like Emperor Palpatine, but he's younger than Hench.
Holy hell. I guess corruption ages you. Holy shit.
Who else had a worse summer than we had?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the World Cup, because Argentina had a weird summer, sort of highlighted or lowlighted by Enzo Fernandez's red card that, cost them the final. But like, I didn't really have a strong opinion about like fucking Argentinians. Like, I don't know, or they seem, South America always seems pretty positive and upbeat. And it's like, oh no, they're fucking scumbags. Like, what? Huh? And it's like, and then people are like, you didn't hear about the racist, homophobic, like, you're what? Huh? And then you're like, so Argentina spends the whole summer convincing the world, like, oh, we're pieces of shit. Like, we're bad people culturally. Like, we play shitty. Like, we cheat. Every guy on the field knows how to cheat. Here's how you cheat. It reminds me a lot of the NBA with the fucking flopping, where it's like, no. Here's how you do it. You can stomp on a guy's ankle in the first 5 minutes. They won't do shit. You're like, yeah, wait a minute. You should get a yellow card for that. They won't do it in the first 5 minutes. So all of our scumbags go out. You make a yellow card foul in the first 5 minutes. You can just fucking do whatever you want. Like, oh, we didn't know that. We're playing catch up here in America. And then it's like, not only will they be scumbags, just highlighted by Fernandez red card at the end, but Gianni Infantino so invested in their success that it's like all of their sins will be forgiven. And then when fucking Egypt scores the goal of the tournament, I think it was Egypt, scores this fucking incredible sequence, like length of the field, they go like, yeah, we're going to rewind 90 seconds and call a foul retroactively to rule out that goal so Messi can keep like, it was like the combination of you guys are fucking assholes and the whole thing is corrupt, just meeting at Argentina. So we're like, we all kind of like Messi, like that guy looks, oh, he's so little and he's awesome and he's 39. And then you're like, oh, yeah, well, we're all rooting for Spain now. Literally every neutral in the world rooting for Spain against these scumbags. So that was obviously fun. Who else had a terrible?
Well, okay, yes, I do want to get back to the World Cup, and you almost veered too far away, like Coltrane does from the baseline, Hench. There, you almost went too far away and dipped in to the next item on our topic bar / outline. Please have some discipline. I did mention Emperor Palpatine, and it reminded me of this. A couple nights ago, I was showing Hoover Dameshek. He'd never seen Return of the Jedi before. And so we were watching it, and then Skywalker early on, as you'll recall, after the whole, the events with Jabba on Tatooine, Luke he makes way to complete his training. He goes to visit Yoda on the gross little swamp island, and Yoda's there in his little cave house, and he finds Yoda infirm. And Yoda's like, oh, you're 900 years old. So good should you look, kind of thing. He's like, oh, now it's time for the great good night. Whatever he says, basically. It's like, I'm dying now. It's time for me to die, and you're here to see it, Luke. And like, well, such is the way, like the Force requires. And he tucks himself, his little shrimp body, about the size of the aforementioned Lionel Messi. He tucks himself under his little blanket. And he's like, well, time for the great good night. And he's dying. And these are the last words he'll ever speak after 900 years. He's like, well, goodbye, you Luke. And Luke goes like, hey, I came all the way here to complete my training. Hey, Luke, asshole. I just told you I'm dying, man. I've been around for about 1,000 years. I'm not going to hit 4 digits. This is devastating, and I'm just purging all my deepest thoughts to you as I say my goodnight. And Luke's like, man, I traveled all the way here. What a jip. Anyway, back to what we were talking about.
Spaghetti. Like, you saw what just happened, right? You heard it, you saw it. He goes, Hench, stay on topic.
Can we get to the outline?
I was watching Return of the Jedi.
Target.
Like, what the fuck? It's like
another Star Wars reference. Stay on target.
Fucking left the reservation. Like, we got a fucking topic bar, and the fucking number 7 on the topic bar is Tatooine.
I'm going with. I don't need your fancy equipment. I'm just using the Force. I'm finding the target. Don't worry about what I do.
He must want to talk about the Jaylen Brown trade. No,
I do want to talk about
Jedi. There we go. Fucking top of everybody's tongue.
I'm telling you who I had a better sports summer than. This one hurts for me. Paul Skeens. I'm not happy about what Paul Skeens did or has done so far this year, and it's not going to add up to what started
the
out.
Crazy thing about Skeens and Garrett Crochet and every other fucking ace in baseball is you spend $33 on an ace in rotisserie baseball, and the chances of him succeeding are exactly the same as the $3 guy you take a flyer on. Like, there's no, in fact, less so, because once these guys hit their innings, that like they all have an innings windshield that they're about to crash into, and it gets lower every year. It's like, well, what do you expect? He's thrown 120 innings. Fucking Nolan Ryan was at that mark in May.
I always think of you though, Hench, with that, specifically. Well, not specifically with starting pitcher and, whether or not they can throw 100 pitches in an outing and how many total innings they pitch and how long they go into games and all of that. And I always refer back to what you said a few years ago, and I think it's exactly right. As I always say, we lionize the past. The old people are like, Bill Russell would be the great, like Bill Russell would get destroyed by Shek and a lot of guys in the 21st century. But you said this, and you said that modern players play in a way where they redline every trip up and down the floor. And I think the same is true for every starting pitcher now. They're not leaving anything. They're not leaving anything behind for the next inning. They all throw 100 miles an hour. Like, it's bad if you're a starting pitcher and you're only hitting mid-90s now. That, 10 years ago, if you were throwing 96, like, wow, this guy's throwing heat. Now it's like, his fastball ain't great. Only 94 miles an hour, it tops out. Right? Is that the answer? That today's players are just going red line in a way that any generation prior didn't.
With the pitchers, that's, we've just reached a place. Well, it's like, 100-meter dash guys tearing their hamstrings. You're like, isn't this what you do? Why is your hamstring tearing? It's like, because I'm like a car at Le Mans, like I'm going as fast as I can until I break. And so with the pitching, the spin rate and the 100 miles an hour, like if you throw as hard as Jim Palmer now, you're a soft tosser. I mean, it used to be like Hall of Fame velocity. Now it's like, oh, he's crafty. Right. But the other injuries, like, okay, did Hank Aaron and Willie Mays just not have obliques? They just didn't have obliques? Like, I don't understand. Like, fucking every guy in your lineup is going on the DL with an oblique tear. And it's like, Hank, so I'm convinced if, Roman Anthony's going to miss over 100 games with ligament damage to his ring finger. Okay, if that had happened to Hank Aaron, no one would ever heard about it. No one would know. Obviously, there'd be no MRI. He'd be like, my fucking hand's fucked up. I guess I'm only gonna hit 40 home runs this year. Like, nobody would have, he would have fucking missed a game with a ring finger ligament. Like, it's like, we've gone from Ronnie Lott slicing off his finger so he could play in the game to, hey man, I'm not 100%, so I'm just gonna shut it down. I get a little twinge when I swing, so I'm going to miss 100 games. Like, no, the combination of they're all jacked, the shoulders and tendons that have more going on, but they're also like they're fragile and they don't make any more money for gutting it out. There's no incentive for gutting it out. It's like, no, I'm going to get paid the same. if I go rehab for 3 months, whatever, like Garrett Crochet said, he's like, these reports. And by the way, this is where I think we really miss the fucking print media and having like 10 guys covering your team. Like these guys disappear. They go like, yeah, he's got a little lat strain. And I'm like, I want a reporter following this fucking guy around 24 hours a day. I want to know, what's his day like? What are you doing? Are you in the pool? Are you like, I want to know, like, what did you do today to get back on the mound? And then Garrett Crochet says, I can't get back up. I can't start in the playoffs because I only have 39 days to get right. And it's like, well, how fucking long is spring training? Like, how long do you need to get right? Like, let's go. Let's start stretching it out. And what it is he won't be 100%. And the ego is like, I don't want to get lit with my B stuff. Whereas, in the 50s and 60s, those guys throwing 330 innings a year, they didn't feel great in October either. By the way, Sandy Koufax just pitched till his arm fell off. It wasn't like, I'm going to throttle back and have a nice long career so that I can get that extra contract. So it's just like, these guys are all like, I spoke to my lawyer. There's nothing in it for me to try to come back and help the team win the World Series. Win the World Series, like, who gives a shit? These guys are all corporations. Here's the important thing is that the corporation is fiscally sound, unlike Mark Walters corporations. And so it's just like, it is like, you read, so you get these, you remember, I don't know if you guys, with fantasy football, how you're always trying to find out, like, is that fucking guy going to play? Like, it's been 3 weeks with this hamstring. Like, what's he? And you're always, and now football they get the microscope, but baseball, when your guy is hurt, when you go to the worldwide internet and try to fucking find something out, like, it is like, there's a story from 6 weeks ago.
It's getting more. It's funny. We've complained about this. I would bet it was definitely more than 12 months ago, more likely 24 months ago. We sat on this very show and discussed this thing about, like, we must choose as a sports world. Are we going NFL, where we're talking about lacerated spleens? We get very specific about their injury type, versus the NHL, lower body or upper body. And I think we're going to the latter. It feels like even NFL is like, yeah, he's got something going on below the belt. Like, that's about the extent of the description we get on off of this. And I think
the Red Sox do this crazy thing. It's like full Soviet Politburo Pravda. Guy gets hurt. Team makes a statement. We don't think it's serious. We're going to give him the weekend. We don't think he's going to have to go on the IL. And then now we hear that, and it's like, that's Yuri Andropov. He's going to be dead by Wednesday. Like, when the fucking Politburo goes, this guy's fine. It's just the sniffles. Konstantin Chernyenko is dying. That's like, so they're like, yeah, we don't think Roman Anthony's going to miss any time. It's like, oh, well. And I don't understand by giving these, instead of just going kind of neutral, like, we're going to take some pictures, we're going to see what's what. They always undersell the injury, which then makes the guy look like a pussy. Hey, the team said you were fine, but you're going to miss 100 games. Like, instead, like,
Endy Rodriguez, everybody knows Endy Rodriguez, obviously. He's the part-time catcher of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He had a glute injury, and it was like a month ago. And it was like, man, it's too bad to miss him from the lineup for tonight's game. He's really been good lately. And it's like, yeah, he's got a glute, something with the butt. And it's like, oh, he's out the whole series. And a month later, it's like, yeah, now he's out for the season. He had to have surgery on this thing. Like, why the slow roll? I know that there are some human concerns, but also my fantasy lineup is dependent on this. And you said he was going to be back in a day or two, and now he's on the 10-day. No, the 60-day. No, he's out for the rest of the year. Yeah, you do know. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You know who else had a bad summer, or is about to have a bad summer? All of us baseball fans, because in 2027, it looks like we're veering towards a lockout or a strike. Who had a good summer 2026 was Pat McAfee, because he is steering, it feels like, it's not solely his responsibility, but his spirit is, why do we have to dig in on the ugly stuff? Can't we just celebrate sports? And to your point about like following people around and doing investigative reporting, that feels like it's going the way of the dodo bird to some degree. But now I want to talk about, who else was having a bad summer? The WNBA, or is it Ennis Cantor Freedom? Either way, the combination of those things isn't great right now. But on the NBA side of things, who had a bad summer, Hench? Was it Brad Stevens or was it Jaylen Brown? I can't tell exactly. It feels like Celtics fans.
Well, I mean, I think they both had bad summers that were obviously linked. So when you go like, hey man, we've got a finals MVP, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, but we think there's a lot of redundancy with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. We think we can improve the team by trading Jaylen Brown and getting these pieces around Jason Tatum. It's like, okay. And, there was not, Boston sports fans had seen Jaylen Brown drive into four guys with a bunch of open shooters and not kick it out enough that it was like, okay, no one was, because the idea was we're going to get a haul. And I wasn't super high on the Giannis thing, but I was like, because Jaylen posts, Jaylen plays. So it's like, okay, so we'll get Giannis at the minimum, but maybe we can get Giannis and some more things. And then the market is like, nobody wants this fucking guy. What? Nobody wants the finals MVP.
So I love this because as you dig in, a lot of the reason it feels to me like Boston sports fans were, even when the notion was floated, you're like, trust in Brad Stevens. He has not failed us yet. Let's ride with him. He has led us to a great era here, right? So
Brad Stevens, I think, like all of us, Brad Stevens was like, okay, I'm going to work the phones and I'm going to get a collection of fucking huge offers, which I can then work against each other. We got 2 first rounders coming from, from the West Coast. We got that. And then it's like, everyone's like, don't call me about this again, Brad. What? Like, and part of it was, the analytics. So in baseball, the analytics, like you look at OPS plus, you look at expected batting average, like the analytics in baseball, the season's so long. That's who you are. You can't go, well, he's minus 17 defensive runs saved, but he's actually a good shortstop. It's like, no, Trevor Story sucks. That's the reality of those analytics. But with Jaylen, it was like, well, the analytics say he's not very good, but the eyeball test is like, this guy carries us for 10 possessions in a row. He gets to the rim. Like, what are you talking about? And I think in this analytic day and age, everyone was like looking at the analytics and going, well, this contract is crazy for these results analytically. And so that's what the market all decided simultaneously, was like, this is a bad contract for these analytics. And so nobody wanted to be Brad.
So you don't buy any of the soap opera element of it, that like deep down they didn't get along. The Tatum and Jaylen had some weird resentment of.
Can I also throw this out with him? He's like a Twitch streamer guy. Like he came on like after games, he comes on and talks about like he doesn't really care about the losses, and he actually said that like him winning the MVP, like him winning personal awards was more important than winning the finals. I cannot imagine that sits well with front office or other players in the locker room.
Well, yeah, when you're rehabbing your torn Achilles because you're such a team guy that you like, obviously the easy thing would have been, I'll see you in 2 years, right? Like you tore your Achilles. Nobody's expecting Tyrese Halliburton to play. And Tatum was like, I'm going to get surgery in the morning and I'm going to make it back this season, right? And it's like, that's a guy whose eyes are on the correct prize, right? And so I want to make it back. And I like Jaylen. I think he's interesting and cool. And it doesn't really matter. Like, it's not like his priorities you could see on the court. It's like, yes, he's I want the ball player. Guess what? He's on a team with 4 of those now. You think Tyrese Maxey wants to play off the ball and stand over there, in the corner? You think Joel Embiid doesn't want the ball? LeBron is just going to be a spot up shooter. They have 4 guys who are much better with the
better
ball.
fit if you, like I say, Chris Nolan and moving the timeline around. If the Miami Heat had the evidence that they were going to land Giannis, wouldn't Jaylen Brown be not perfect, because what they really need is catch and shoot, but still, wouldn't that be the better thing and make for a more compelling East? I assume, how do you see, I guess, Cliff's notes look ahead here for us? What are the top 4 teams in the East at the end of the regular season?
Well, I think, even though there'll probably be a bit of a hangover, what we watched with those Knicks, it was a formula, right? It was like, first of all, I used to play tennis against this guy, Kevin O'Hara, and what he hated about playing against me is he would get up 40 love on his serve, and I would never give in and be like, well, now it's my serve, and I'll try to hold serve. I'm like, I'm still going to break you, motherfucker, even though it's 40 love. I'm going to fuck it. And he's like, you never give up on a point. You never stop running. And so the Knicks are like, down 20, down 22, down 29. Like, there is just a fucking machine. Like, they're like, we're going to come for you. When it gets to 15, you're going to start freaking out. And it's a culture, like the culture of belief. Like, and so I don't think the Knicks are going anywhere. I don't think there's going to be some crazy, remember when the Knicks won the title? I think, and it's funny because, Mike Brown has his critics, but like, we were all kind of, Spaghetti wasn't, but I was like, I kind of felt bad for Tibbs. Like, he lays it all on the line, looks like he's going to die. And then Mike Brown comes in and goes, oh, you did have the pieces, and here's how they go together, and just incredible coaching job. And in fact, 2 of my favorite bets of the spring, one, that thing where the winner of the Spurs Thunder is just going to win the NBA championship. It's going to be a coronation. When the Knicks survived the Hawks and then just started fucking obliterating people. I mean, starting with the Hawks. I mean, it's like, you're like, is my phone broken? Because I think the Knicks are up 75-23 in the second quarter. Like, it was like, you were looking at these scores, like, what is happening? I said, I'm going to sprinkle a little money on the Knicks to win the championship. I think I got 10-1 on that bet. Might have been a little, might have been 9-1. But then as I watched them do their thing, they're down 29 against the Spurs, and they cut it to 22. And I scrambled to my computer. By the way, I still thought it would be 25-1 at down 22. It was only 10-1. But I was like, once you're at your computer, you have to follow through, or you'll just feel like an asshole. You're like, I knew it. So that when they came back from 29 down and I got my 20 from 22 down bet, I was like, this is unprecedented. This is just a different breed. These are different breed of players. They're just, they all of them, they play together. So I don't think the Knicks aren't going anywhere. I do think the Celtics will have more wins than the Sixers at the end of the year. I just think I do think there's a little addition by subtraction there. Look, Paul George, the good news is not a lot of miles on those tires. He's been hurt so much, but
I kind of agree with that. I think people have just, because he's become sort of this albatross, or at least his contract has, and he's obviously not anything close to what he was in his prime, but it's like, well, he's not a bum. He's not me now. He's still, there's still some remnants of Paul George in there.
And the analytics on Paul George are off the charts. Paul George in pick and roll is one of the best players in the league, and he obviously is a much better shooter than Jaylen Brown.
I kind of agree with this.
He's just going to stand in the corner, and he's still a plus defender. And so, I think we got a good player in that trade. And one guy the Knicks will miss, obviously, is Robinson, who, those extra possessions, man, those offensive rebounds. So I've made my peace with the Jaylen trade, and I actually think, the Celtics will once again be quite good. You mention it, I'm not trying to deviate too much from this, but you just described the way we sort of perceive Paul George has now poisoned
the entire premise of that team going forward. I think something similar has happened now because we rendered a verdict on like, oh, the Colts, they were on to something so good with Danny Dimes, but then he ripped his Achilles, and now it's all over with. Over under the Indianapolis Colts, 7.5 wins this year, Hench. I think we've determined like, well, that's unrepeatable. You know, that way he tore his Achilles. Like, all right, but he didn't die. I mean, like, I know it's a strain to come back from an Achilles tear, but he did play well. I mean, people have decided that they have where I come down isn't your business because we still have to do our fantasy draft. So where I come down on the Indianapolis Colts ain't for you, Kevin Hench. But over under 8.5 wins there. I don't think that they're dead and buried because he tore his Achilles a year ago now.
Did they just go from over under 7.5 to over under 8.5 during the question?
Literally, no. I have it at 7.5.
Did he say 7.5 and then he said 8.5? Okay.
I'm sorry. I have it at 7.5.
So this makes it even easier. I was going to go under 7.5, but I'm definitely going under 8.5. I just got a free game. No, I think that division is pretty good, and I do think that the Titans, are going to be better, and the Texans are the trendy team to win the AFC. I think under.
All right, you know what? Now that we're into it, I'm sorry to keep Chris Nolaning it. Eddie Spaghetti, you didn't like the Odyssey, huh?
Who said no? I loved it. I went to go see it 70 millimeter IMAX. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw you issue a negative.
No. It's one of my top right now, top 3 or 4 of the year. I mean, I recommend everyone to try to see it in 70 millimeter IMAX if you can. I mean, it feels like you're inside of it, like you're there with them. The screen is so big. It's like it's so gargantuan that it like scares you. If that makes sense, like you feel like queasy, like not like a motion sickness thing. It's like, wow, this is so big, and it's incredible. And like just a masterful job by Nolan. A lot of great performances, and a very, very rewatchable movie. So yeah, I loved it.
I have to go see it again. Hench, let's finish the AFC South here.
Hold on. I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is fun. This is gonna be fun. Okay.
All right. I'll
for
be
both
the
of you
judge
guys.
of that.
Okay. One of these 4 guys is gonna be one and done. They might all be one and done, but one of them for sure. Of these 4 names, who will be the hardest trivia question in 5 years?
Ooh, okay.
Clint Kubiak, Mike LaFleur. This is already a hard trivia question.
I love this.
Todd Monken or Jeff Hafley. I mean, I've already by the time Jeff Hafley gets fired in November, I will have already forgotten his name.
Well, obviously, if you
Jim
haven't
Hafley,
been in hibernation, if
What?
you aren't in hibernation on your old pal Dave's career, I've been doing stuff with the Lebitard show. Make sure you're checking out Football America all through the season here.
I don't listen to this podcast. Why would I listen to your other podcast?
I'm not talking to you specifically.
Okay, all right.
Please, you narcissist. I'm talking to everybody out there. Hafley so I've talked a lot of Dolphins is my point. Hafley and the quarterback he chose, I think it's really interesting and sort of the opposite of the tell that Pete Carroll attempted to provide all of pro football a generation ago. When Matt Leinart, his QB at USC, was available, Pete Carroll looked at it and said, nah, I'm good. And that should have told every team in the league, and I think kind of did, you don't want that. Now, Jeff Hafley moves his entire life down to Miami. Several Packers front office people moved down to Miami on purpose to run the Dolphins. The world's their oyster. We're moving on from Tua. Clean slate. We want Malik Willis. We're bringing him with us. What does that tell you? I think they have the guy, and so now they're completely tied to Malik Willis. And I think Malik Willis is good, but they're built to lose this year. So they are going, no matter how good Malik Willis is, they're going to be, 4-13 or somewhere like that, something terrible. And so then how at the end of the season are you going to say, yeah, but we knew this was going to happen, so basically you get an entire mulligan? Or does reality, not as we sit here in August of 2026, but in January of 2027, and they're a punchline, how cool do you have to be? Do you have to be like Iceman in Top Gun and just like ride it out? Just wait this thing out. We can't get rid of Halfley. I think they give him at least 2 years. But I love the question. By the way, I was watching Top Gun with Iceman, and I think Iceman has a decent case.
You were watching it with Iceman? This is incredible.
Wouldn't that be awesome? That would be really cool.
And Return of the Jedi.
Well, no, I wasn't with Iceman for either one of those. But Iceman, I think he has a decent case to at least be a little bit pissed at Mav when they get back on the air carrier. You know, it's like, I don't try, he's like, this isn't personal, but I don't know if Mav's the best choice to be my wingman. And like, I know what you're thinking, Iceman. Get up there. Make it happen, or whatever. The bald guy says that with the cigar. And then they go on their mission. And then the first guy, the wingman, he gets shot down. So it's like, Mav, get in there, man. And Iceman is like, come on, man, do something. Help us out. And then Mav makes the scene with those MiGs all around. And then Mav's like, it's not right. It's not right. And then he like pulls out. Like he ditches Iceman. Your job is to be his wingman, but he just sort of bails. And then he has like a conversation with Goose. He's like, talk to me, Goose, talk to me. And it's like 45 seconds. That's an eternity up in this. You don't know what that's like to be an air fighter, but to be a fighter pilot, but I do. And like, that's it forever. And then he's finally like, Maverick's re-engaging, sir. And then everything works out. But Iceman should have been like, he's like, bullshit. You can be my wingman. Ha ha ha. Let's hug it out. And it's like, hey, asshole. What if one of those MiGs had a better, was more accurate? Like I would be dead right now because you had to go talk to Goose, right?
I think I can tell by the way my balls constrict up into my body when there's any turbulence. Mm-hmm. What a great fighter pilot I would be. I just I'm white knuckling it, and then my daughters are laughing. I'm like, okay. Well, you guys handle the fighter pilot stuff because Dad's gonna pass out. Back to sports.
Hench, can I answer your question? Because I think it's a phenomenal question, and I think the perfect example is like, of
Please
course,
stick to the outline. Spaghetti.
We're gonna remember Halfley.
I hope your answer isn't Tom Skerritt.
No, we're gonna remember Halfley forever. Like if the Dolphins, they have a chance of going like winless. Like, and we all remember the Detroit Lions. Their winless season. Their head coach was, and I'm like, oh my God, who was their head coach? And then I had to Google it. It was Rod Marinelli. So anyway, I think that for
great point.
Halfley to me has got to be the answer. I think they're not going to go winless, but they're in like the 1 to 3 win range.
When your preseason regular wins total is over 4.5 Halfleys, you're gonna get fired. And I would go under, like, because Shek's right. When it's designed to lose, like Gerard Mayo was designed to lose. Like this, we're going to lose this year. And then they go, hey, we're going to fire you. But no. We were going to lose. We all knew we were going to lose this year. It's like fucking, Vrabel's available. You don't think there's going to be anybody available that the Dolphins would rather?
Yeah, I know this was the plan, but Mike Tomlin, Sunday Night Football, he wants to get back into coaching. Sorry, man.
No, you're 2-15, but we're going to claw your way back to 500 over the next 7 years. Like, it's so brutal. And that's why I've always respected when a coordinator in a good situation doesn't take a bad job. When they go, I'm gonna wait till there's a roster out there.
Ben Johnson. Yep. There you go. Okay, finish that though, Hench. You say they are the sexy pick, and indeed they are by a lot of people. I don't want to tip my hand too much, but I like the Texans too. 9.5 is their win total. How say you?
Over.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think, that obviously no one did it worse than the Patriots in the playoffs, but like people aren't keeping, no one's keeping those dogs off their quarterback. I don't know. Like, it's like no one's come up with a scheme. Max.
The question is, though, you know what's a funny thing? You know, it was NFL running backs, and I have made the case for NHL goaltenders. In fact, Springtime has made a case for the fungibility of NHL goalies. But, you know, defenses, dominant defenses this millennium don't generally carry year to year to year. It does feel like a transient thing. But if the Texans defense is as mighty as it was last year, and in fact, you can make a case it has a chance to be a tick better this year. Yeah, that'll be great. And the Jags at 8.5. How say you on them? They're the other team that people, again, it's like, same old Jags. They lost at home to the Bills when it counted. Forget about them. But I think that team with the ugly uniforms has a shot too. How say you?
Well, it's funny because you and I are both, it sounds like, over on the Texans and the Jags.
Right.
So feels like you have to abandon your case for the Colts. You can't also say over.
I'm just saying that I think that there are certain things that we determine collectively that may or may not be true. I am ultimately going to go under on the Colts at 7.5 because of how mighty the competition is in the neighborhood. I think that's at best, what are they? 1-3 against the Texans and Jags, 0-4, probably.
Hey, real quick, while we're in Kayshon Boutte's new division, I went back and forth with Sal a ton on the Stafford Maye MVP conversation. And of course, both sides have all these stats that they can float out there. But like the NFL marketplace determined what Kayshon Boutte and Stephon Diggs were worth. Like they set their worth at $7 million for 1 year and a backup safety and a 7th round pick. Those were his two receivers. Drake Maye had these two guys who are basically deemed worthless on the open market, while the old man is throwing to fucking Puka and Devontae. It's like that.
It's so right. And by the way, I think where I am on the Patriots overall, I have them not making the playoffs. I do think though that Drake Maye, like we talked about in the days before the Super Bowl, I think Drake May's hurt. I mean, everything, like if you're reading the tea leaves, they're telling you he's hurt, and we're not accepting it. And I didn't think that the bookmakers fully embraced the idea. I think they did a little bit more than the rest of the world did. And everybody's like, fraud, see? They would have gotten obviously they would have lost in Denver had the quarterback not been hurt. And this is a fraudulent AFC rep. I think Drake Maye was obviously hurt in that game. And I think the larger argument for him is he's going to be better. Like the version of Drake Maye you saw last year figures to be even better this year, which offsets the rugged schedules. Like, wow, they made their hay against bum teams. Well, they're going to be a better team than they were last year. So I think the Patriots still have a shot of hanging around. I just think the AFC is real heavy.
Obviously, I mentioned Diggs and Boutte, and then you've got, Pop Douglas, prior to A.J. Brown's arrival, there was not a receiver on that team where anybody was like, if we don't bracket this guy, we're going to get destroyed. Drake Maye's never walked up to the line of scrimmage and gone, oh, okay, they're really worried about this guy, so I'm going to have an advantage over here with Hunter Henry. Like, it's just like, so I feel like A.J. Brown, it could really unlock. I agree.
But he better be that guy, though, because if you just sort of look at a body of work and Josh McDaniels with, once you drop Randy Moss into the Patriots formula, he obviously understood what he had on the field, and you target him, and Tom Brady, even more importantly, understood. But is A.J. Brown definitely that cat in 2026? That's, I think, what the offense to elevate, that's what it's going to be.
Hopefully
the defense is going to be good again, obviously.
He's got a chip on his huge shoulders because, he wants to prove Sirianni and Hurts wrong. It's like, but even like just his presence, whether he puts up big fantasy numbers or not, it's a massive upgrade. And I do think like watching Kyle Williams, score the 69-yard touchdown in the preseason, like, if they have to keep the safety home, like if it's a light box, Ramondre and Travion, there's such a good thunder and lightning. And I know Spaghetti can appreciate this because his O-lines have been so shitty for so long. But when you see your O-line is ranked 15th, you're like, oh my God, this is thrilling. Top half.
Here's my number one reason. I completely agree with you. Again, we now set, I think one of the best things the Patriots have going for them, obviously Mike Vrabel made some off the field noise that provided a distraction. I feel like that again, we determined that there was something that the way they lost that Super Bowl makes it like we can gloss over the Patriots this year, which I'm not doing. I think that they remain a contender. The reason I'm a tick down on them, why they barely missed the playoffs, is the history of the Super Bowl runner-up this millennium. Only half of them even make the playoffs. Only one team, the Patriots, in fact, made it back to the Super Bowl, and I think only like 4 of them made it back to the title game. History doesn't favor them being relevant come January this time around.
I already bet them over 10.5, so I obviously hope you're wrong. But I prior to making that bet, I probably should have done a slightly deeper dive because, okay, this is a good question for you two guys without looking. How many wins do you think their first 4 opponents had last year? Go.
Well, I know wait. Oh, how many wins this season? The first 4 foes of 26 had last year. It is, by the way, one of the best things that the Raiders beat the Patriots in week 1 a year ago. That's, just a wild anomaly. I'm trying to think of when I reviewed these, if that was a factor and why I had the Patriots out of the playoffs.
Say a fucking number. It's not Bernoulli's theory here. Just say a number.
31, jerk.
Well, that's a terrible guess, given that.
I don't know if they have a hard one or an easy one. I'm guessing. They play good teams. Okay, what is it?
Spaghetti.
Okay, you bet the over, so then it must be pretty easy.
Worried about
so they're bad. 8 total wins. No, they had a grand total of 4 teams had a grand total of 21 wins.
Okay, so
how do I know what you're going for? I'm throwing out numbers.
For is okay. I could not have been clearer. Not as clear as fucking Palpatine on Tatooine, but I said, before I made this bet on the Patriots over 10.5, I should have looked at the schedule because it's obviously even harder than I thought. After a month, the Patriots might be very far behind the 8 ball in that over 10.5 bet I just made because they're fill in the blank, Spaghetti. Their first 4 opponents last year won a combined.
Right. So the math I did in my head was 4 teams. I'd just say 10 gets you around the playoffs. So it's like 40. So 40. So I was going to go like probably give or take a couple extra wins. I was going to say 45.
49 wins. Yeah. Okay. They're obviously the expanded schedule. We know that's never happened. That has never happened in NFL history. Guaranteed.
Listen to Hench. You know who he reminds me of, Spaghetti? He reminds me of Luke when he goes to visit Yoda in the Dagobah system, and Yoda is dying, and he's like the Patriots of 2026. They're like, oh my God, we're 0-4. We're complete frauds, and Hench is like, I bet on you. What about me? Right?
This would be good if Yoda had been like, he's like, I came here to train, and Yoda's like, hey, Mark Hamill, like, how many reps can you do bench pressing your weight? Like how Mark Hamill with the free weights in the 70s. That would, oh my God, I can't die yet. I gotta fucking train this guy. The galaxy's relying on a guy who can't press 75 pounds. Like,
all right, I think we've said maybe not all of it, but I think we've said enough for this day, Eddie Spaghetti. Good stuff from you, Kevin Hench. The start of a new era. Very exciting stuff right on the dawn of football season, college and pro. We're going to have you covered for the entire sports spectrum all the way through. Good times with Kevin Hench.
I did not let you bait me, even with your multiple efforts. I did not let you bait me on Vrabel and Rossini, because love is love.
That's right.
Much as Jed York proved in the trailer park, much as our beloved president proved in a hotel room with a porn star, much as Bill Belichick. I'm
playing a harp right now as
Bill Belichick proves on the sidelines. Like, love is love. Who are we to judge?
Well done. A great turn from Kevin Hench, sitting on a turlet somewhere in his mansion in Los Angeles, and Eddie Spaghetti wrapping things up for us in Miami. Good times. We'll be back in a week. Meantime, lineups is where you find Eddie Spaghetti and all the content coming out of not just our show, but everybody else there. Kevin Hench, of course, making the pages for you. Make sure you're watching Shifting Gears, and the Dan Le Batard Show, Football America. Make sure you're checking them out on YouTube and wherever you find your podcasts. And until next time, thanks so much, sports fan. It's been a thin slice of heaven. I said that true. I had like a little slur. Thanks so much, sports fan. But you get what I'm saying. Goodbye.